A long time ago, there were two men who were compadres. That means they were godfathers to each other's children. Now, one of these men was a rich man. He owned a big ranch. He had a fine herd of cattle. He owned a mule that was a prize-winning animal. That mule was his pride and joy. The other man, his compadre, he was a poor man who was lazy and never did any work. He never paid any of his bills. He just sat around talking and talking and talking all the time. The people gave him a nickname. They called him El Grillo, the cricket, because he would never quiet down, just the way a cricket won't get quiet at night when you're trying to get to sleep. And one of the wild things the cricket was always telling people was that he was un adivino. He was a seer. He could solve mysteries. He could find things that were lost. And he would use the idea like this. When he fell far behind in his bills and he owed a lot of money, he would go out to the rich man's ranch and get the prize-winning mule and take it up into the mountains and hide it. The rich man would look all over his ranch and he wouldn't be able to find his mule. Finally, he would go and talk to the cricket. He would say, "Can you help me? My mule is missing again. I can't find it anywhere on my ranch." And the cricket would say, "Oh, I think I can solve this mystery, but you know, I need some help too. Could you pay a few of my bills?" So the rich man would go and pay off the bills, and the cricket would go to the mountains and get the mule and take it back to the ranch. He played that trick over and over on his compadre, but it almost caught up with him. Because one day the rich man was at the governor's palace, and the governor was upset that day. He said, "Oh, there is a little gold ring that I have owned ever since I was a child, and I have lost it. I can't find it anywhere in this palace." The rich man said, "Oh, Your Excellency, my compadre is an adivino. He's a seer. He can solve mysteries. He can find things that are lost. I'll tell him to come and find your ring for you." So the next day the cricket had to go to the palace to find the ring. Now the pressure was really on him. He would truly have to find something that was lost. So he tried to get out of it. When the governor said to him, "I hear that you are un adivino and you can find things that are lost," the cricket said, "Oh, no, Your Excellency. I have been lucky once in a while, but I wouldn't say I have any special powers or anything like that." When the governor heard that, he was suspicious. He thought, "This man sounds like a liar to me. He sounds like a fraud." So he told the cricket, "I'll tell you what. I am going to lock you in a room for 3 days. At the end of 3 days, if you know where my ring is, you will get a fine reward. But if you don't know where it is, I'll know you've been lying to the people, and you will get the proper punishment." So the cricket was locked up in that room, and he had no idea where the ring was. But the truth of the matter was that 3 of the servants working in the palace had stolen that ring. They were 3 servants who worked in the kitchen. And it just so happened that at the end of the first day, one of those servants was sent up to the room where the cricket was being held prisoner to give him his evening meal. The servant went up to the room and went inside and set the supper on the table in front of the cricket. And when the cricket saw his evening meal, it really struck him. He only had 3 days, and it was already supper time, the end of the first day. So as the servant was going out the door, the cricket hung his head and muttered to himself, "Ay de los tres, ay va el primero." Of the three of them, he said, "There goes the first one." He meant of the 3 days, the first one was already over. But the servant heard him say that and went running back to the kitchen. He said to his friends, "That man up in the room, I think he really is un adivino. As I was going out the door, I heard him say, of the 3 of them, there goes the first one. He knew that I'm one of the thieves." His friends told him, "Oh no, don't jump to conclusions. It's probably just a coincidence. Tomorrow, a different one of us will take him his food. We'll see what he says then." So the next day in the evening, the second one of those servants carried the supper up to the cricket's room. He walked inside and set the meal on the table. And once again, when the cricket saw his evening meal, he realized it was already supper time, the end of the second day. So as the servant walked out the door, he hung his head and said, "Ay de los tres, ay va el segundo." Of the 3 of them, there goes the second one. He meant of the 3 days, the second one was over. But the servant ran back to the kitchen. He said, "There's no doubt about it. He does know. As I was going out the door, I clearly heard him say, of the 3 of them, there goes the second one. He knew that I'm a thief too." So on the 3rd day, when the 3rd servant took the food up to the cricket, he just fell down on his knees. He said, "Please, don't turn us into the governor. We know, you know all about us, but if you tell the governor, he might even cut our heads off." When the cricket heard that, he realized what was going on, and he told the servant, "I won't turn you in if you do exactly what I tell you to do. Take that ring out to the barnyard. Put it on the ground in front of the fattest goose in the flock, and make sure the goose swallows it." The servant did what he was told to do. And the next day, the governor brought the cricket out of the room. He said, "Well, what can you tell me about my ring?" The cricket said, "Your Excellency, this is very strange, but I had a vision in that room. I saw your barn, and I could see the pen with the geese in it, and your ring was in the belly of the fattest goose." The governor said, "What? How could it get there?" But he sent a servant out to get the goose. They wrung its neck and they cut open its belly, and they found the ring. It made a believer out of the governor. He slapped the cricket on the back. "Well done," he said. He gave him a fine reward. He even gave him the goose to take home for his wife to cook for supper. And as he walked away from the palace, the cricket said to himself, "Never again will I tell anybody I have any special powers." But it wasn't so easy to get out of it, because only about 3 weeks later, the governor of Texas was visiting the governor of New Mexico. And the governor of New Mexico just had to start bragging. He said, "Do you know what? Living here in New Mexico is a man who is un adivino. He's a seer. He can solve mysteries. He can find things that are lost. He could tell you what was hidden in some secret place." The governor of Texas said, "What? Adivino? Oh, there's no such thing as adivino." They started to argue. And the next thing you know, they had made a bet. They bet $1,000 apiece. And the arrangement was that the governor of Texas would put something in a box and run the box up to the top of the flagpole. The cricket would have to stand on the ground at the bottom of the flagpole and tell what was inside the box. When the day of the contest arrived, the governor of Texas got a great idea. He took a big box and put a smaller box inside of it, and then a smaller box, and an even smaller box, and an even smaller box. Finally, a tiny little box. He laughed. He's going to think of something big in this big box. I'll find something real small. He went outside to look around, and just when he stepped out the door, a cricket came hopping across the path. So he caught the cricket and put it in the smallest box. He closed up all the boxes, and they were run to the top of the flagpole. And then the guards went to get the cricket. There he stood at the bottom of the flagpole. He had no idea what was in that box, but there was the governor of Texas and the governor of New Mexico and soldiers standing around in a ring. He couldn't run away, so he just stood there. An hour went by, and then another hour. Finally, the governor of Texas started to laugh. I told you this man is a liar. Pay the bet. Get it over with. Now the governor of New Mexico was growing impatient. He said to the cricket, "Speak up. Tell us what's inside the box." Finally, he got so angry, he said, "I will give you 1 more minute to speak, and then I'll have you shot." The cricket had to say something. He started to stutter and stammer. He said, in the box, in the box, in the box, in the box. The governor of Texas said, "How does he know there's a box inside a box, inside a box, inside a box?" And then thinking of himself, the cricket hung his head and said, "Oh no, they got you this time, you poor little cricket." The governor of Texas said, "If I hadn't heard that with my own ears, I never would have believed it." He reached into his coat and pulled out his wallet, and he gave 2 $500 bills to the governor of New Mexico. And the governor of New Mexico gave one of the $500 bills to the cricket. He slapped him on the back. He said, "Well done once again." And as he walked away from the palace, the cricket said to himself, "Never, ever again will I tell anybody I have any powers whatsoever." But you know, the boys on his street had always liked to make fun of him. That day, they had filled a big gunny sack with garbage. When he started down the street, they came out swinging the gunny sack in front of him. They said, "Ooh, adivino, tell us what's inside this gunny sack. Use your secret powers, adivino. What's in the gunny sack?" The cricket told those boys, "Don't call me adivino. I don't believe it in anymore. It's nothing but a bunch of garbage. Leave me alone." They said, "How did he know it was garbage? He really is un adivino." So from that day on, no matter how much the cricket tried to tell people, "I don't have any powers. Leave me alone," they wouldn't believe him. Every time a housewife would lose a spoon, she would come by and ask him to find it. The governor was always coming by, asking him to solve mysteries. Finally, to have any peace of mind, he had to take his family and move far away from New Mexico to a place where they have never even heard about adivinos or seers. I think maybe it was someplace in Texas, but I'm not sure about that part of the story.